the Highland Lake Park Reserve and a Midsummer Fest, and here we are on the river Mississippi, some 1,500 miles from New Orleans on July 10th, 1988. And the legacy of Duke Ellington has appeared over the horizon. Arthur Barron, welcome to our microphones.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Arthur, how did the Duke's Men come to be organized? It's a great fraternity, I'm sure.
Well, it's an interesting story. I guess about 4 years ago in New York City, we have this Greenwich Village Jazz Festival around Labor Day. And this fellow who was the president of the Duke Ellington Society, who I got to know over the years, whose name is Dick Fairfield is his name. And he really was, as a president of the society, he got involved in really creating events of Duke's music being performed. So he organized a week-long job at this place called Lush Life, of all places, which is now defunct, but it was quite a nice club to play at. And he wanted me to gather a small group of musicians to play Duke's music, the few people that were around, the alumni, and to write some arrangements and just generally to put it together. And we did, and I'd never done anything like that in my life, and I worked real hard at it. And it was a winner. I mean, right away we got wonderful press, and all the press was saying this band was put together for this week-long festival, but they should stay together. And so from all this encouragement, I really got on the case, and I started putting my first press kits together and all those kind of things, and doing all the jobs that you have to do to get a band going. And it's been a wonderful experience. We've had some wonderful musicians and wonderful concerts since then.
You've all had your roots and experience with the Ellington organization under Duke when he was alive. What sort of program materials did you think about as a group should make the program and move the band and its individual soloists?
Well, as a small group, you have to be influenced by Johnny Hodges' recordings, the small group recordings he did, that kind of open sound he had. I mean, even like you might have 3 or 4 horns in unison or something, but if you have the right players, they know how to play the notes. And then I was also inspired by some Duke's smaller group things, where he would literally have maybe 2 saxes, trumpet and trombone, and almost write their parts as though they were part of a whole section. Like you listen to this, the Unknown Sessions. Well, he'll have Johnny Hodges and Harry Carney, and he'll literally write them sometimes miles apart, and like they would be in their own section. And it sounds full. You listen to it, it sounds like a whole sax section. So I did a lot of listening to things like that, transcribed some of those. And I did the same thing, actually. I remember like The Shepherd Who Watches Over the Night Flock they did for John Genzel. I essentially just took that off the record and basically used the parts where they were, went down from, about 12 horns down to 4 horns. It worked fine. And of course, we don't have a trumpet, so we make minor variations using a clarinet. But it's... there's been a lot, there's so much work of Duke's to pick from that it's a pleasure. I'll just listen some days and just say, that's interesting, that's interesting. I like to do the things people know, but I also like to do some very obscure things. And it's worked out well. People really enjoy hearing it all.
Well, I can hear the original Duke's Men, those small combinations with Barney Bigard and Rexy Stewart, and I can hear Frolic Sam dancing through the night, and a whole bunch of other fine and wonderful people that Duke created in his imagery. What's the reception from the audience?
It's great. As a matter of fact, we've had so many standing ovations that I'm afraid the next time we don't get one, I'm going to be very depressed.
May you be delivered from depression.
Thank you.
Art, one last thought here. In your term with Duke Ellington, how could you describe that experience?
Well, the most important thing for me is it's ever unfolding. I still, like as a leader of this band now, little thoughts come to me like how Duke would have handled something when someone yells a request from the audience that's like, bad Leroy Brown or something that he might not have tried to play. Just his presence as a person. You can go on and on about his musicianship. I will say that I played some solos with him, played things I have no idea where I got them, because the way he played behind you, and it always happened with people that he was able to really bring things out of you. And when I had that experience, it was almost like a spiritual experience, like I understand what they're saying now. You know, I can't really explain it. So that was a great experience to remember. And then there was, oh, what else can I say? Just thinking about the presence of this great man, and how he lived for his music. I mean, I was there right up until he passed away, and he was just, he might be really tired, but as soon as he hit that stage, that's what he lived for. And it was amazing, you know. So his inspiration is with me, and I remember nothing ever bothered him. Now here I am now. I started leading this band 4 years ago with no experience, and things could really bother me. Like one time the piano player was a half hour late, and I thought it was written all over my face that I was really uptight, and nobody knew. I played a little piano, then we did something without piano, and then he showed up, and I've learned a lot about how to relax, and I've probably added 10 or 15 years to my life from the influence of how cool Duke was.
He certainly was the essence of the cool, wasn't he?
Absolutely. Nothing bothered him. I remember in a recording session we did back Teresa Brewer, Ray Nance was on it, and Ray was kicking and screaming and having a ball and stuff, but he was playing great. And who was it? Bob Thiel was producing, and Bob was saying, "Duke, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?" And Duke says, "What? There's no problem. Just keep recording." You know, he says he doesn't care. You know, as long as the recording came out well. You know, Ray was having a good time. We all had a good time.
Arthur Baron, you're a trombonist, so you're sitting in chairs collectively, in a sense, and sometimes you have to be a schizophrenic trombonist. In other words, maybe you're a Tricky Sam or you're Lawrence Brown or someone else.
Well, Tricky Sam is the first one that I had been playing plunger before I joined Duke, but I didn't really know Tricky's playing, but I started studying it when I joined the band, you know, putting the little mute inside and everything, and I got to hang out with Butter Jackson. As a matter of fact, I've made a bit of a study of Tricky and Butter and Tyree Glenn, and actually I can sort of get the different effects and see how the three different people do it, and somewhere in there is me too. I mean, for me it's been not just trying to learn someone's style, but it's been a case of living it, and it's been really interesting, you know, to really, like, I'll learn a solo to see where Tricky was at. Like I did the original recordings for the Cotton Club movie with Ralph Burns, who was great. But they didn't use it for the movie. He was offed with a big political coup. However, when we recorded for about 2 weeks, there were days where I played Tricky solos, you know, like for hours, and playing them over and over again, I started feeling what the energy was like, how we put the air through the horn. So that was really important. And of course, Lawrence, I do sort of like, I sort of feel like that I've learned some how to play in his style. It's not always there. Sometimes I pull it up, you know, but I love his style. He's got to be in my top 3 list. Such a beautiful player. So I mean, I like it all. I like the different ways. Then I like going a little nuts myself in my own style, you know.
What a great adventure.
Yeah, it really is.
Arthur Baron, it's a pleasure to sit in with you before the show here at in the Riverfest, Mississippi River, 1,500 miles from New Orleans, and places where jazz started, south of Mason-Dixon, as well as the New York roots. And thank you for your observations.
Thank you very much. Glad to have the opportunity to be out here.